Everyone always talks about progressive overload and its importance, right? They give numbers like add 5 pounds or 1 rep per week. But in this video, I'm going to talk about why that might actually be too fast and why I stopped obsessing over progressive overload. My name is Naveed, and I went from being a super skinny twig that weighed under 90 pounds to now at a pretty decent physique at just 16 years old. And I used to always obsess about tracking my workouts, tracking every rep, every set, and just really always obsessing about trying to add 1 rep every workout to each of my lifts. And that led me to progressive cheating instead of progressive overload, and a pretty nasty arch on my incline dumbbell press, as well as just kind of crappy form for other things as well. Now, when you hear most people talk about progressive overload, they give usually numbers like 1 rep or 5 pounds, and usually, let's say if you're hitting a muscle group twice a week, then each workout you would try to add 1 rep to each lift, right? Or maybe 5 pounds or something like that. But if you think about it, like, that's kind of arbitrary. 5 pounds, that's an arbitrary increment. Why not 4 pounds? Why not 1 pound? Like, why not add 1 pound every workout? Or 2 pounds? How do you know how much? One big thing to understand is that hypertrophy causes progressive overload, not the other way around, alright? So, when you go in the gym and you stimulate your muscles, right? And then they get bigger and a little bit stronger, so then next time you have the ability to progressively overload and add more weight or reps. It doesn't mean if you try to add more weight or reps, then that'll cause muscle growth, because you aren't able to do those extra reps or more weight. If progressive overload causes hypertrophy, then why not just add 10 pounds to every lift, every workout? I mean, you'd get huge, right? But that's not how it works, because you actually need to gain the strength to be able to do more weight or reps. One big thing with progressing too fast, or at least trying to progress too fast, is just form breakdown. Because let's say you're doing really good form on lateral raises and you've been doing 15s for 10 reps or like 15 reps or something, right? And then next time you try to add a rep and you keep doing that every time, you keep trying to add weight and reps, maybe you'll be able to hit it, but you'll be kind of swinging more or orienting your ribcage more, kind of just using worse technique that's putting less tension on the muscles. And also, if you think about it, your numbers going up of your lifts isn't actually your real goal if your goal is hypertrophy, which this video is for if your goal is mainly hypertrophy. It's correlated strongly, but it's not actually the real result you're going for. So it's kind of easy to get lost in the numbers. I used to always be way too tied to the numbers on my Google spreadsheets of my workouts, and that would determine whether I had a good workout or not. And the thing is, you can't let that determine the quality of your workout, because that doesn't actually say what you did in the workout. It's more because strength fluctuates as well, right? Maybe you got one less rep than last time, but that doesn't mean you're not stimulating the muscle effectively. And when you tie your sense of fulfillment and accomplishment to the numbers in the logbook, that's when you're gonna basically do anything you can to beat those numbers, even if that results in less hypertrophy stimulus. I still think it's good to track your workouts to see the long-term progress for sure, but don't get obsessed, too obsessed with just adding a rep or a little bit of weight every single time, and you have to see the numbers going up, otherwise you're just gonna have a mental breakdown. What I wasn't doing was I wasn't focusing on what was happening in the real world with your actual body. That's what I should have been doing, is focusing on that, what I'm actually doing here with my body, what's actually happening, not just the numbers on paper. Because at the end of the day, what you're actually doing in the workout is what gets the results of hypertrophy. It doesn't matter whatever you type into the logbook, that's not going to get you growth, obviously. It's the workout. And see, what I needed to do was focus more on the set quality and use the logbook for more just long-term progression, just to look at it, right? And so what I started doing more is focusing on the actual set quality, because before I always used to have a rep goal in mind. I would go into the set thinking, oh, I got 14 last time, I need to get 15 now. And what would that result in? What if I wasn't strong enough to get the 15? What would I do? I would just orient, I would use bad form, I would do whatever I could to get the 15 reps. And over time, that just added up to having crap technique, because I could get the extra rep if I needed to. I didn't really think much of it, but now I realize I was just orienting and putting less tension on the muscles. Because at the end of the day, set quality, having good form, and going to failure, that's what's actually going to get you hypertrophy. Now, some exercises can progress a little bit faster than others, of course, like the two extremes, deadlifts versus lateral raises. For sure, deadlift, you can progress a lot faster. Because if you think about it, like 500 pounds, if you're deadlifting 500 pounds, right? And you add 5 pounds to that, that's a 1% increase, right? That's not much. But now, if you're lateral raising 20-pound dumbbells and you add 5 to that, you go up to 25s, that's a 25% increase. So that's a lot more, but it's still 5 pounds each time. So that's one of the reasons, is just the magnitude of the load is just like way more. Since the load is way bigger, then adding 5 pounds is a smaller percentage of that, so you can do that a lot more easily. And also just deadlifts is more of like a compound movement, uses more joints, bigger, stronger muscles compared to just the lateral raise. I don't know, at least for me, I find lateral raises to specifically be where it's like really easy for me to start like messing up. If I try to progress too fast or go too heavy, I'll just start orienting. I'll kind of do this instead of like actually just raising my arms. And let me tell you, I see a lot of my friends when I'm working out with them, and they're like, oh, you're only doing 15s or 20s or something, and then they grab the 30s and they're just like, and they're just swinging their whole body. They're like, oh yeah, I do 30s usually, and I'm like, oh really? Okay. And then I watch their set, and it's like, yeah, I can tell why you're doing 30s and I'm only doing 20s, but I have a better physique than you. Yeah, that's like kind of rude, but that's not what I meant, okay? So anything like that, I focus more on the set quality and the form and all that, instead of having a rep number in my mind. That seems to really mess with me. So instead, I just focus on the actual sets. Like, I might still count the reps and track it and like put it in my thing, but I'm not like super worried about it if I get less reps than last time. And I definitely don't have a goal in mind during the set. Like, that might be good for heavier lifts, like deadlifts or something like that. But for lifts that, like, if you seem to mess up a lot on a certain lift, and you have crap technique, and it's kind of like more of a single joint or just like a smaller movement, then you might not want to have a rep goal in mind. For the most part, the logbook is to look at after your workouts are done, after the day is done, to see over time the long term if you're progressing. And if you're not, then you can make a decision to maybe change something in your training or diet or something like that to problem solve, to see what's going wrong. It's not to look at before you're set to artificially try to get that progression. If your main goal is hypertrophy, then maybe track something that's more related to that, like your arm size or something like that, right? And don't worry about having to add a rep or weight every single time. Of course, it's still important to do that over time. I'm not saying do the same weights and don't worry about it at all. But I'm saying don't obsess about every single workout. You have to beat the last one. It can be a little slower. Strength fluctuates just like your body weight. When you weigh yourself one day versus the other, it can look like this, kind of higher, lower, whatever. Same with strength. There's so many factors. Maybe you slept a little bit worse. Maybe you ate something that was a little worse. Maybe you're just a bit more stressed. It could be anything, right? So it's more about the long term. And also, if you're going to failure on your sets, then you'll kind of get stronger automatically, and the progressive overload will happen by itself. Because if you think about it, if you got 10 reps and you went to failure, then you would have gotten stronger from that, just like theoretically, right? Then next time, you have the ability to do 11, and if you're going to failure still, then you will get 11, right? So as long as you're going to failure, then you will get the more reps that you are strong enough to get. So even just like training to failure kind of takes care of it partially, but I mean, I would still recommend to track your workouts. By the way, if you resonate with me and you want me to help you personally with your fitness, look at your program, whatever, then just email me. I'll be happy to do so. Yeah, that's it for this video. Have a good one.